Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Guys Who Stare at Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy alongside Andrew Santangelo and Connor Gray. As always, before we get things going, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. We always love to hear what you have to say. But as always, the most important question of the day, fellas, how are y'all doing today?
I'm doing very well. Up 2-0. Sixers up 2-0 in the series. Phillies just won the first game of a doubleheader. Rangers won big today, 20-4. I mean, what else can I ask for?
It's been a good day to be a Ranger, but can't really complain. Overall's been a great day.
It has been going well, and as we get into our news part here, it's been a good day for one Mr. Jalen Hurts as well, a record $255 million extension, and it is one of those that you love to see it if you're an Eagles fan. Obviously, you want to lock down your quarterback. Yes, is it a lot of money? You're going to have to spend a lot of money to try to get after that Super Bowl you want there, obviously. You got the NFC. You only got that one step left to take, but as our local Eagles expert, Andrew, you got to get your opinion on it first.
No, it's an absolutely great move. I could care less about the money. I will continue to say it. It's one of the biggest overreactions from fans in general because it doesn't matter. No, I'm saying, like, in terms of, like, everyone complains, people get overpaid and stuff, but why do we care? It's not our money. They just restructure everything anyway. And I mean, it goes to show how good of a GM Howie Roseman is with the Eagles. You now look at who's all locked up beyond 2025. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, Dallas Goedert, Darius Slay, James Bradbury. The core of this team, and I can keep going, I'll just stop there, is all still there. And, I mean, when I talk about the money, yes, if you average it out by year, yes, $51 million sounds like a lot, and that's what people get misinterpret there. But, I mean, the next 2 years, he's only combined for $19 million against the salary cap, and the year after that is just $21 million. You look at Daniel Jones and what the Giants did in 2023. He's going $21 million against the cap, $45 million against the cap in 2024, $39.5 million in 2025. In 2026, $56.5 million. In 2026, Jalen Hurts is only getting $31 million against the cap. So it's crazy. Like, and that's my point. Is like all they do is they do the signing bonuses, all that. So I mean, it's a great deal for Hurts, great deal for the Eagles. No concerns for me. You got your quarterback locked up. Great day to be an Eagles fan.
It's like you have until 2026 where you said it hits over $30 million, where that could affect some ability to keep certain players. But overall, the next three seasons, you're lined up right there to get the players you need to help Jalen to get yourself a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, all those guys are already locked up
Yep.
From 2026 too. So again, you have nothing to worry about as those contracts are already against like the cap for those futures. So and again, and the big thing here is you were the first one to get it done. You got it done before Lamar Jackson demands more money now. You got it done before Joe Burrow demands more money. You got it done before Justin Herbert. All of his quote-unquote competitions for the best young guys near that draft class. You were the first one to get it done there. So now you got nothing to worry about in terms of having to overpay, quote-unquote overpay, because somebody else got a better deal. Now those quarterbacks are going to go off of Hurts' deal. So big win for the Eagles.
Yep, definitely a big win for Philly. You pretty much are lined up, primed, and you got down your franchise quarterback. So.
And Andrew, you mentioned that $51 million average annual value. To put that in perspective here, obviously, we mentioned it's the record-setting deal. They're the largest in league history. You look at Aaron Rodgers, $50.3 million a year. Russell Wilson, $49 million a year. Kyler Murray, $46 million. Deshaun Watson, $46 million. And Patrick Mahomes, $45 million, just to put that in some perspective there. But as I think all of us agreed, it is a good day for Philadelphia. Obviously, we mentioned the Eagles. We talked a little bit about the Phillies doubleheader. We've got to talk about the NBA schedule as well, because the first 3 days have been absolutely fantastic. And continuing our Philly trend here, Sixers are 2-0, looking at their games, a 121-101 win over the Nets in Game 1. And then a game where the Sixers admittedly struggled for three quarters, still came out on top with a 96-84 win over the Nets there.
Yeah, I mean, it was two great games for the Sixers. I mean, yeah, like we talked about before, I don't think the Sixers could play a worse half than they did in the first half in Monday's game, and you walked away with a double-digit victory. I mean, the defense was phenomenal, kept you in it that way. Maxey drops 30-plus points. He was fantastic. And to go off that too, I mean, you look at the way the Sixers are doing it; they're not relying on one guy. I mean, James Harden has been playing very well. Look at Tobias Harris dropping over 20 points each game. I mean, this team is playing well, and we talked about it before, and I think the Sixers sweep the Nets, and I think Celtics probably win in 5. And I think that's shaping up there for the big rivalry showdown there in the second round.
Yeah, pretty much just the fact that you played obviously between the two games. Game 2 was not the best showing, but you still, like you said, Andrew, won by double digits. That just shows that even not playing at your best, you're still way better than the team you're up against. It should be a sweep unless things just go wrong in one game. Even then, Sixers would still take the series regardless.
Then you look at one of the other game ones happening on Saturday, Boston taking on Atlanta, 112-99 in a game where, I mean, Boston at some points up by 25, cruising along near 30-point leads. Celtics just had it in control. They let Atlanta come back a little bit, but at that point it was already way too late for the Hawks. But the Celtics doing what they do best, just locking people down.
Yeah, no, and they got a fun team to watch, obviously, with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum in the front of that team. Obviously, Trae Young might be able to steal a game, but I mean, I think that first half, maybe not to the 25-point difference, like you said, Cade, but I think that first half is kind of where the series will go in terms of it being lopsided like this. So I think the Celtics will be in control, and their defense is one of the better ones in the league, too. I mean, with Al Horford down low as well. So this Celtics team, I expect to see the same from them here this evening.
They're Celtics are too talented of a team to probably drop more than one game to Atlanta. Atlanta just doesn't have I don't think they're just going to be able to compete throughout the series. They'll probably have not saying that they will never compete, but it's like might steal a game, but otherwise Boston for the most part will take control of that series and probably win it in 5.
Yeah, so that's one of those that the Celtics look primed to not. They don't have to exactly coast over Atlanta, but you can tell where things are looking based off that game 1. And then if you want to talk about a game that I really don't think you can get a read for either side, New York and Cleveland just battling back and forth. No one in clear control in that one. It's what you want from a 4-5 series. But the Knicks getting a 101-97 win over the Cavs, and Jalen Brunson doing what he does best, dropping 27 points in the win there. Brunson able to get big plays late in the game. And, I mean, just the battle those two had. Donovan Mitchell with 38. He had a great game as well. It'll be intriguing to see how Cleveland, how they adjust getting into game 2, and New York can ride out another close win there. If they go back to the Garden up 2-0, that'll absolutely be a fun atmosphere in New York.
Yeah, I think it's a little more concerning in game 1 for Cleveland fans than the fact that Mitchell went out, dropped 38 points, and you lost the game. I mean, if you're telling me Donovan Mitchell before the game is going to hit 38 points, you probably expect you're going to win that game. But credit to the Knicks defense. I mean, I think basically they just played one of those defensive styles where, you know what, Donovan Mitchell's obviously one of the better scorers in the league. He's going to get his own points. Let him get his 38, 40 points. We'll shut down everybody else. And they still held him under 100, and you win that close 101-97 game. And credit to Jalen Brunson. I mean, that's just kind of the player he is. Cade, you know, from watching him in Dallas. I mean, when Luka goes down early in the playoffs last year, he carried that Mavericks team for a little bit, and he obviously carried Nova in the 18 championship. So he knows how to win those big games, and matched up with Julius Randle there. I mean, I think that's a good duo, and I don't know. I think this Knicks again, this win, I think was a great sign for the Knicks and more concerning for the Cavs, and obviously we'll see what happens in the next one. But like you said, Cade, it's almost, I mean, you don't want to call it a must-win because obviously 2 games isn't like the season's over, but it's almost that territory for Cleveland in the sense of you don't want to go back to the Garden down 2 games, and especially you drop 2 at home to start the series. I mean, that crushes your morale.
Yeah, this one, obviously, it's like you were saying, like Mitchell can do his thing throughout the game, but if your second and third best scorers are not really helping you out, that's just going to happen. It's kind of what you were talking. I was just kind of thinking about when MJ versus the Pistons. I think it was the year before they went to their first finals. They pretty much bullied Scottie Pippen from not really being able to do anything, prevented the other scorers on the team from not being able to do much. They let MJ do his thing, but they isolated everybody else to not be able to be a threat. So it basically helped Pistons win that series. But obviously it just kind of reminded me of that. But who knows if Knicks will be able to continue that success if they can also shut down Mitchell, or they're just able to keep everybody else down like how they did. Knicks just gotta just keep it going. If going up 2-0 back to the Garden, that'd be really good for them if they could somehow manage to also pull those 2 games out. But I think for probably next, I'm not really sure how that will go for this next game.
Yeah, and then speaking of the next game that happened Saturday, I would say it's the game of the day, at least in my opinion. Golden State and Sacramento. Everyone wanted to see that atmosphere at Golden One, and Sacramento fans absolutely delivered. They got to do what they set out to do. They lit the beam on national TV, a 126-123 win, and it was, I will say, watching that game after the first 3 games, it felt like an entire different sport, just in terms of the speed that both teams were having. Golden State obviously loves to push the pace. Sacramento happy to match it. It was funny seeing the contrast between that game and the 3 other Eastern Conference games before the day, which are a bit more defensive, grinded out type of games at times, and then, you get to prime time, welcome to the shootout, essentially. But, how about De'Aaron Fox, 38 points, and just able to lead the show for the Kings there. Sacramento got up 1-0, and then you go to what happened last night, obviously, the Kings getting another win. At times, Sacramento, I don't want to say they're having just an easy ride over Golden State. You don't see that ever happen against the defending champions, but when you're up 14 and then Golden State comes back, and then obviously we get the incident with Draymond Green and Domantas Sabonis, and that really sealed the deal for Sacramento there. That got everything. The crowd was rejuvenated. The team said, okay, we've got to finish this thing now. Draymond gets thrown out of the game, and Sacramento up 2-0 on Golden State. Last time the Warriors win an 0-2 hole was 2007.
Just obviously, besides the whole thing with Draymond, the series has, despite the fact Sacramento's up 2-0, these teams have not disappointed overall. It's been some very good basketball. I think arguably so far it's been the best series to watch. But obviously for Sacramento, great. It's great that you're up 2-0. You're up 2-0 in the series going to Golden State. So hopefully you can do something with that. Obviously, sadly, that Game 2 incident with Draymond will kind of slightly overshadow. It overshadows what was mainly a terrific game by both teams.
Yeah, I think first off, Draymond should be suspended for at least a game for his interactions. But I think overall, De'Aaron Fox is making a name for himself. He's always been one of those quick guards, knows how to get things done, better two-way players in the game, offensively and defensively, if you combine them both. Has obviously shown it in this playoffs. He's able to run around with Curry. He's obviously not keeping Curry off the scoreboard, but he's running around with them, causing problems. You look at the way I keep going back to the way that game started. And the Warriors had, I think it was 4 or 5 turnovers in the first 3 minutes of the game. And it's just stuff like that, and it helps the Kings gain confidence early on, and get out to a nice lead. And I think that's kind of where you see him really take off. But I think this whole Kings team is just well put together. We've seen them kind of grow here in the last few years, and they're really taking off now. And a lot of good different players on here. And then obviously the Sabonis trade last year, they bring him in this year, and bring him in at last year's deadline, and then now you have a full year with him, and it's able to take off in the direction you want. But here's the thing: the Warriors aren't. They're not out of this yet. They obviously can go home, win 2 games, and we'll go right back, and then you get to the best of 3. So this is going to be a fun series. It's going to come down to 6 or 7 games, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it. But no, credit to this Kings team for going out, and that offense is just unstoppable. And here's the thing: I really don't think the Warriors have defenders that can stop the Kings. That's what it comes down to. The difference, in my opinion, is Fox is a guy, he can slow you down a little bit. Curry, obviously, one of the better shooters ever to play the game, but no one's ever really talking about his defense. Klay Thompson's obviously a good defender, but I think his best defensive days are behind him already. Draymond Green, he's not the same guy he used to be as well, so on the defensive end. So I don't think Warriors defense at this point can keep up with him.
Yeah, I think over like you said, until like Warriors go down 3-0 or the series ends, I think it's just when the series ends is when the Warriors are actually out of it because they're too talented of a team to they have the depth to be able to still keep up with anyone. But I think at the end of the day, that I think overall, I think defensively they're not going to be able. They might not be able to stop the Kings through the series. I shouldn't say like oh they're not going to get game 3. Like they could easily take game 3. I mean it's in San Francisco, so
That brings us to the Sunday games. We'll talk a little bit more about that game 3 when we get to it. But looking at what happened on Sunday, the big one obviously in the West in Memphis, the Lakers going up and getting a win. And Andrew, this is something we had talked about, or at least we both kind of agreed a third person had to step up for the Lakers. And, well, they got, 1 through 7 to step up in that one. Rui Hachimura with 29 points. And, I mean, this is exactly what the Lakers needed. A game where, LeBron's able to almost sit back. He didn't have to be playoff LeBron that we all know he's going to be. Anthony Davis had a great defensive game. Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves declared that he is indeed him at some point during the game. That happened. That's a real thing. You could look that up. Just everybody played well for the Lakers that needed to. And a 128-112 win. And then obviously now the big concern for Memphis, Ja Morant gets hurt late in that game. What is his status for game 2? Will he be able to play? Obviously, I don't think he's going to be 100% for that one. That'd be impressive if he somehow was. But it sets up a lot of questions now. And if the Lakers are able to get that second win, what does Memphis do going down possibly 0-2 going back to L.A.? But obviously, if Memphis can tie it up at 1, that raises its own set of questions.
Memphis has that, I believe, still has the talent to be able to still compete with the Lakers, even if Ja Morant isn't able to go at 100%. But it's more looking like if Lakers take game 2 in Memphis, people are going to be talking about a possible sweep in Los Angeles. Like, obviously, talk's still there, but we got to obviously find out for game 2 if that'll happen. But it's like possibly. I mean, if the Lakers just play like how they did in game 1, that's a huge possibility of happening. But I still think Memphis still might be able to find a way to tie it up 1-1. But overall, great performance by Lakers. You had some guys that stepped up. Austin Reeves had a great day for a guy who gets some good amount of attention. You also had a guy who came off the bench. He got 29.
Yeah, Rui Hachimura.
I can't say. Sorry, but 29 points. I mean, the fact that LeBron didn't have to go out and score 50, I think says a lot. How the team just played overall, and also Anthony Davis, obviously, like you said, played great also. So really not much to say. Lakers could probably, depending on how game 2 goes, you could be talking about a sweep.
Yeah, I want to go that far yet with the sweep. I'm
saying just
sir,
I didn't say
I
it
was
going to
say, have you checked Twitter lately, Andrew? Halfway through game 1, people were already pronouncing the series was over.
I'm not saying that.
It's like I'm not. I was just like, you're going to hear more talks of it. I never said it was going to happen.
But I mean, this Memphis team, I think what they got going for them though is Morant missed a lot of games in the regular season. So even if he is out, which he will probably be out the next couple games, is what it sounds like. At least game 2, they've been there before. They know how to play without him. Obviously, you'd rather him in there, but they've done it before. They've had to do it, and it's gonna fall on Jaren Jackson's shoulders. Desmond Bane. I mean, Brooks. I mean, this team is very talented. They got a lot of different weapons to go to here. They got a lot of different guys that can score and play defense. And I think they'll still cause Lakers problems here in the second game. I mean, it did take a lot for the Lakers to win that game. We'll see if they're able to keep that up throughout the duration of the series. They did get all the help that they could get, like we said they needed to. And, I mean, that's the plus side for the Lakers is for that third guy, it doesn't have to be the same one because you just don't know who that third guy is. It could be the Austin Reeves who drops 14 points in the fourth quarter. It could be a D'Angelo Russell. It could be Schroeder. Like, it could be many different guys. They do just need to stay consistent with it. But, yeah, I think the biggest thing is Memphis defense was a big letdown in this game, obviously. And that's where they need to improve the most if they want to take game 2.
And that brings us to the next game, the 1-8 matchup that anytime you play the Heat, it doesn't matter what seed they are. It's not going to feel like that 1-8. Jimmy Butler comes in and does what he does best, dropping 35 points. Doesn't help that Giannis, of course, gets hurt in that game, and he's out for a decent amount of game one there in Miami. Able to get a 130-117 win, and the Heat are at least going to get a split in Milwaukee and come back to Miami ready to have some fun there. So it'll be intriguing to see how that series plays out. I know some of this was another thing we talked about, Andrew. You can never really count Miami out in any situation, no matter who they're playing or where it's at. They're always going to cause some problems for somebody.
Yeah, and that's because of Jimmy Butler. I think he's one of the more underrated players career-wise because he's never been on a team that had a shot to win. I mean, he's always been a guy that gives them the best chance to win. But, I mean, we never looked at those Timberwolves teams as a team that was a real threat to win the championship. We never looked at the Chicago's teams as a real threat to win the championship. The Sixers was the best shot, maybe, but they were at that year he was there. They were never the biggest threat that year, and they go out the second round. So I think that's why. I mean, they're kind of overlooked, and they obviously struggled a little bit throughout the season. But like I truly think, even though they're the 8th seed, I think they're talent wise on the roster, they're no worse than the 6th. I mean, I think they're better than the Nets. Nets just got lucky they had Kyrie and Durant to start the year, else they might not even be in the postseason.
Yeah.
So I think that's where, and that's why you can't count this, especially now that like you said, Cade, they got the split. Worst case is you go back to Miami now 1-1, and who knows? I mean, this Miami team was in the finals 2-3 years ago.
3 years ago
with Butler. So I mean, there's no reason they can't go back. And obviously, that goes without saying. If Giannis can't get back on the court, obviously it'd be tougher. And you hope he's okay to get back out there. I know he's questionable for Game 2. I think they're at least expecting him back for Game 3, worst case. But with that being said, though, this Milwaukee team, I mean, Giannis was out a few games the year they won the championship, and Chris Middleton stepped up big time for that team, and a lot of other guys. Now they got Drew Holiday there, so they got even without Giannis, they can still win the series, in my opinion. But obviously, it all starts with that second game, and I think where you really lost Giannis, and obviously you lose him offensively too, but the biggest spot you lost him was defense. They had no answer to stop Jimmy Butler, and some other possessions there from Miami, and obviously giving up 130 shows that. Now, when you get Giannis back, it's a bigger force there, and your defense becomes a lot better. I think the Milwaukee scoring will be fine. My biggest concern for them is their defense without Giannis.
Yeah, that was something I was gonna kind of touch on, but you covered it perfectly. Obviously, I think scoring wise, obviously Giannis brings a lot to that offense, but defensively is where he is most needed at, and obviously to stop he stops many key scorers in the league with his defense. So obviously a big hit. You got to hope at work. I think at best he'll probably come back for Game 3. If he can play Game 2, he'll probably play so many minutes. I don't think they're going to try to make him go like the max amount of minutes that he usually gets. But this is still a very winnable series for Milwaukee. I still think even if they managed to go down 2-0, I'd still be choosing them to come back and win the series. I think they're very, very talented, and even without Giannis, they can still win many games without him. Like you said, they did it they did it many other seasons prior in the postseason. So obviously, probably the toughest 1-8 matchup I've seen in quite a long while, but this still a very winnable series for Milwaukee. They'll be fine.
And then that moves us down to one of the upsets. Don't call it an upset if you're either Russell Westbrook or Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi going off for 38 as the Clippers able to get a win over the Suns. It doesn't matter that Paul George is most likely out the entire first round here. The Clippers still able to come in, play solid defense, and when they needed to make a big play, Westbrook at the end of the day able to just simply out-hustle DeAndre Ayton, run around Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, and just beat anybody he needed to. Even though Westbrook only went 3 for 19 in the entire game and had 9 points, he was still able to contribute in a variety of other ways. If you're the Clippers, that's exactly why you signed him. But just impressive effort, I would have to say, by them. Just against all odds, it feels like you have 3 superstars on the other side and just able to hold them off and do what they do best, play solid defense and win the game.
Yeah, no question about it. I was wrong. I was completely wrong on this series. I mean, you need to see the rest. Like, I thought the Suns without Paul George would get this series in 5 games. I think is what I predicted. I mean, no question about it. Just watching that one game, I could see how undervalued I guess I thought this roster was, even without George. And like you said, Cade, you might not see a worse shooting performance than Russell Westbrook had. But what he was able to do, and I think that's kind of what we've seen in the past, is he has that bad performance. You see it affect other spots. He didn't let it affect the rest of his game. He still went out and did everything else you could possibly want from him, and his defense too was phenomenal. I mean, he gave Paul trouble all throughout the night. Chris Paul didn't shoot that well either,
No.
in that game, and I mean credit to Kawhi getting the job done offensively, and I mean I expect to see the same thing from him too, in game 2, and obviously we've seen him carry Toronto to the championship and win it there. And so he can obviously seen it before, know he can do it. And this Clippers team, I mean, they're going to give Phoenix all they can handle, and it's going to be. I think this one's up there, could be up there for one of the better series too, right up there with the Warriors, and then the Lakers series.
Yeah, this like just on Westbrook, it's like I know people. I don't like in modern NBA, scoring is obviously the number one thing people are going to look to and mainly judge for the most part your performance based on that, based on how many points you can get and or how poorly you shot from the field. But it went like you said, the fact that Westbrook contributed in other factors defensively and was able to get the ball where it needed to be. He's able to like these other aspects of his game. The fact that that was not dragged down, it really shows that he can a lot more that, hey, I'm shooting awful, but I can contribute to other aspects. And I think he'll probably shoot better in game 2. Maybe hopefully he doesn't take as many shots as he did, but
Unless you shoot well.
yeah, just at least shoot well. That's really all you need from him. I mean, if he shoots well and Kawhi still has the same kind of performance and the team overall still plays well, you could see a game where they could at least win by double digits on the Suns. But it's like, I think biggest thing for the Suns is Chris Paul. Like, I understand, like, he got lockdown defense all over. He only had like 7 points in that game. So that if he at least gets over double digits, that at least puts Suns in position to probably shoot a game winner or something like that. But you got for him on his caliber, he's got to play a lot better for the Suns. I mean, obviously you had multiple players that had over 20 points for the Suns, but the fact that still wasn't enough to help them win the game really is like Chris has got to play better. So, but if he's not playing good, I think that will probably tell how the series will probably end up going. If Chris continues to not play as well through the rest of the series, if he can play better, you can see the Suns even it up, and then it can go back and forth. This is going to be one of the tougher series, though.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see kind of how Phoenix gelled together, because obviously this is only the 9th total game they've had with all 4 of their major players on the court, and you now think the Clippers for Phoenix now being 8-1 when all 4 of those players now start. But it'll be fascinating to see how Phoenix adjusts from this, because I know that was obviously the big knock on them last year, was you had all that energy going with them, and then it led to just getting absolutely blown out in Game 7 by Dallas and getting beat, where Phoenix just had these moments where they looked incredibly just great, and then other moments where they looked like they'd never seen a basketball in their life. And they kind of did that a little bit against the Clippers. You'd have some moments where you go, okay, this is the title contender we were all promised. Why are they now looking like a G League team 5 minutes later? I don't understand. It's something that Phoenix has dealt with the last 2 years now. I want to see if they can get it figured out tonight. I think they'll play better, obviously. I don't think they're going to have a 100% repeat. But if they get down 0-2, there are going to be a lot of conversations being had about what is the future of the Phoenix Suns. And that feels weird to say, considering you already made the trade for the future. You brought Kevin Durant in, but I don't know. Something about Phoenix just still feels off to me.
I just think it's one of those things you didn't have enough time to gel together. I think a full off season with this group back next year, it goes without saying with those guys, but they're going to be a scary team. I think you kind of saw it that year, the first year with the Heat. They had ups and down moments too. And I think that's where you're just seeing with the Suns team. And that's where it hurts them not being in a 1-2 spot where you can like have some growing pains still against the Minnesota. You can't afford that against the Clippers, or even if you survive this one, let alone the second round where you're going to have to go up against the other 4 or 5, so you go up against Denver. So, yeah, you're not going to be able to afford those mistakes. So, and you talk about the adjustments. Ty Lue, I mean, he's a better coach than I thought, too. So I'm interested to see how they both adjust and play around here with the coaching matchups. It's exciting.
It absolutely is. And then you mentioned Denver. They took on the T-Wolves. They get a 109-80 win. The biggest highlight of the game for me was when I found out Gus Johnson was announcing. That was the moment of the game where I was just like,
whoa.
Where it's already 9:30 at night on a Sunday, which, by the way, NBA, why are you scheduling 10:30 Eastern games on a Sunday? Are you trying to get no one to watch games? It's the playoffs. Come on, what are y'all
That's why
doing?
I brought Gus Johnson.
Yeah, and so they brought Gus Johnson in, I guess, and it was weird hearing because they flipped to the game because Phoenix LA goes so long, and I'm sitting there going, it's Gus Johnson. There's no way it isn't. And then sure enough, he has one of his higher energy. He was like, that is Gus Johnson. Why in the world? Okay, I'm glad to see him here, but I didn't think he'd be here in this one.
They had Gus Johnson on.
They did. They sent him out to Denver for Denver, Minnesota, which I'm glad to see. We always need more Gus Johnson.
What channel was this on?
This was TNT.
Oh, okay, that explains a lot more. I was like, what?
But it was people were kind of joking, like, well, if you got him on TNT for that, Gus Johnson for March Madness win.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
let it happen.
I will say the one thing I thought was odd, though, with Gus, and he still did a great job. I don't know, maybe it was just because of how bad the game was. I thought he wasn't as high energy as he usually was. Like, yeah, like you said, there's a couple moments where, yeah, you could tell it was him. But, like, I thought he was, like, I don't want to say controlled a little bit, but maybe it's just the chemistry he's got to grow with. I forget who was doing the game with him. But, like, he didn't seem like his full energetic self that you see him doing like college games.
Get this man more NBA games, please.
I think part of it was the fact that it was a 1-8 and Denver kind of established they were the better team 5 minutes into the game. I think the other part, I don't know, it might be Fox kind of tries to push him to do it more, because I remember there were some games where he was on Fox doing the big game where it just seems like, someone would get a 3-yard gain and he'd act like they just ran for 99 yards, which I love.
Yeah,
I'm all for that.
Great.
But at the same time, this game, he was just kind of like, well, I'm stuck in Denver, I guess. But, I mean, still, he did great. He did exactly what you expect Gus to do.
So, NBA, can we switch him to, like, Phoenix? Let's get him on, like, a good series so we can hear the real Gus Johnson.
Yeah, put Gus Johnson, give him a game. And when they go to Game 5 in Sacramento or something, if the Warriors do take it there, just let him have that game. Yeah. Even if you want Iron Eagle to still actually call the game, just put Gus in his own little booth and let him overreact to everything.
Yeah, I like Eagle, though.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, but it would be great. I don't know. We need more hype moments, and, I mean, starting a game at 9:30 is not going to deliver them, at least in my opinion. You could put Gus Johnson on it or anyone. It's just I don't understand why in the world they did that, especially when
first round's always tough. Sorry to cut you off. I think they just kind of like spacing out and getting the one game each. And the first round's tough when you have 4. Because I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you double it up, then people are going to complain that they're playing 2 teams at one time. So.
Well, my whole thing was they start at 2 on Sunday, which I get starting a bit later, but you start at noon on Saturday. You could have pushed that up back to at least 1 or something central here and had an 8:30 late game instead of 9:30 for us. But either way, it's time to talk about the actual upcoming games, starting with the game that is already underway here. Boston taking on Atlanta as of the time we're recording this second quarter, 38-32. The Celtics on top of the Hawks right now. As we look at earlier, Boston was a 10-point favorite. They're up by 8 now as we look at it. So the main question here, I was going to say, who do you think wins this one? But now I'm just going to ask instead, do you think the score we have right now stands?
Well, no, we got 2 quarters left.
It's like we still got 2.
Well, okay. You know what I mean.
Just having fun. No, yeah, I think Celtics hold on. I think it'll stand that way. I mean, just by the looks of it so far, I guess Trae Young's not in the game anymore. We'll see how he's doing. But looks like Hawks struggling from 3. A couple guys 0 for 2 there, 0 for 1. But I think, again, we talked about the Celtics defense. I mean, you see them only have allowed 32 points, and you're more than halfway through the half. So I think that'll go to show here, and I think Celtics get another double-digit win when it's all said and done.
Yeah, Boston's going to be too much in the Garden, I think. So I think Atlanta's just got to hope that they just get the series back, just go back to Atlanta, and hopefully they can at least take a game.
As we look at the stats here, we have Trae Young currently with 8. So there you go there. But looking at the other games going on, the other one already in progress, Cleveland, New York, obviously too close to call 3 minutes into the game. Can't really decide a clear favorite here. 4-2 our amazing score with 9:15 to go in the first quarter. Cleveland, I believe, was favored. Yes, they're a 5.5-point favorite in this one. Obviously, I'm not going to ask you, can Cleveland hold here this early in the game? It's still going to be back and forth, obviously, but should be a fun one, I would think, in Game 2 here. But who do you think holds on and gets this one between the Cavs and the Knicks?
I think the Cavs are able to even the series here. I think obviously we saw a great Game 1 back and forth throughout. I think in this game you're going to see that some of the Cavs step up and help Donovan Mitchell out here. I don't think he's going to have to go for 38 and get the win. I think he's going to be able to get some help from Jared Allen, from Darius Garland defensively and everything. So I think it's a big chance here for the Cavs to go back, and they know what's at stake in their future. But not a good sign that Brunson scored the first 5 points for the Knicks, though. So Cavs could be in trouble.
Yeah. I'm pretty much in agreement. I think Mitchell gets a lot more help this game, and I think Cleveland will able to even the series up going back to the Garden.
And that's where I'm at. I think Cleveland's able to hold on. Like you said, Connor, maybe get Donovan Mitchell just a little bit more help. That's all he needs. Just a little bit of Jared Allen stepping up, a little bit of Evan Mobley, a little bit of, to get Darius Garland in there as well. Maybe Isaac Okoro can hit a few threes, maybe not. See how he plays. But I think Cleveland's able to hold on. But, of course, the more we keep talking about how Cleveland might be able to hold on, the better New York's continuing to play here. So we'll see how that continues to go there. And then the one game we do not have an update on because it does not start for another 2 hours here. The Clippers and the Suns, Game 2 in Phoenix. Suns are still a 7.5-point favorite in this one.
How about, though, first, what one win can do, even though they're 7.5-point underdogs? Look at the matchup predictor.
Mm-hmm.
It's swung to the Clippers side.
It has.
Just after one win. Cade, I believe when we previewed the series for Game 1, I think the Clippers were at like 35, 40%
Yeah, that's
there.
a 25% switch.
So, I mean, I did the same thing. Obviously, I admitted to being wrong and under, but like that's crazy for like the actual analytics side of it to make that big of a swing too. But no, I expect Phoenix to come out full force tonight and get the job done, even the series going back to L.A. I expect Durant to get some help from Chris Paul, and then Chris Paul has a better day shooting-wise. I thought I did some things right last game in terms of rebounding and assists, and he finished with solid. But I think DeAndre Ayton's got to step up big, too, and help them out. I thought he came up a little small at times. Like you mentioned, Cade, with Westbrook out hustling him and rebounding him a couple times. I mean, you wouldn't expect to see that with how big Ayton is. But, no, I think the Suns come out and even up the series here.
Yeah, I think it's way out. Look, I think it's going to be we're going to get a better performance shooting-wise from Westbrook. I think at least he gets doubled, at least probably about maybe 14, give or take on that. I think he still tries to somewhat replicate the rest of what he did the previous game. But I think Suns overall, I think Chris Paul will bounce back from that Game 1 where he just did not play overall well. And I think Suns will be able to even the series up going back to L.A.
And that's where I'm at. I think Phoenix, they just need to make a few adjustments there. Chris Paul, I think he's going to play a lot better. I think DeAndre Ayton, he'll improve as well. He'll step up. Kevin Durant is obviously going to do what Kevin Durant does. He's going to get his 25-plus. I think the Clippers will once again play another hard-fought game, but this time I think Phoenix comes out and gets the win and evens this thing up going back to L.A. at 1-1. Speaking of the other L.A. team, the Lakers going again. They already won one game in Memphis, and this one a bit interesting. No spread on it right now, so we're getting into the unforeseen territory, I guess, there. But looking at the injury report we talked about, where's Ja Morant? He's listed as doubtful as of today. So with that information in mind, do the Lakers have the opportunity, and can they pull off going up 2-0 on Memphis?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with LeBron James, you'll have the chance to do that, and especially if Morant can't go. He's doubtful, obviously, as you said. I think, and that's probably why I don't have a spread yet, is I don't know what his status is yet. Obviously, I'll swing it a lot, depending on whichever way it goes. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Lakers favored, honestly, without Ja, if Ja is officially ruled out. But I think with that being said, I think it's going to be an excellent game. I think it'll be back and forth for the majority of it. I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think this Grizzlies team is very talented in a lot of different areas, and they have had to play games without Morant. I think they get the job done in Memphis. I think they go back to L.A., tied 1-1, and set up a great finish here in L.A. And what a weekend that's going to be in L.A. I feel bad for whoever's running the Staples Center, because they're going to have to keep going back and forth between the Lakers and Clippers.
Yeah.
The crypto center.
Sir, we do not call it the crypto. It will always be the Staples Center.
Staples.
It does not matter who owns
I wasn't
it.
correcting you.
I
I
know.
was just making fun of the fact that it's not called the
Yeah,
Staples Center anymore.
It's kind of like the Steelers Stadium.
Yeah.
It's never not going to be Heinz.
It's gonna be
it's one
Heinz
of those.
Field.
You will always know it as that. You're
But
never going to fix it.
yeah, for this one, I think I expect a solid game from Memphis. If Morant's not able to play with or without, I think it's going to be a good game. But I'm going to go against Andrew on this one. I'm going to pick Los Angeles to go up 2-0 in the series to go back to Los Angeles.
Well, I'm going to be Mr. Fence Sitter on this one. I'm going to go, if Morant doesn't play, Lakers win. If Morant does play, I think the Grizzlies come back and win.
That's a fair
I
assessment.
will do both predictions, given here. If he's listed as doubtful, and with Coach Jenkins calling him a game-time decision, I'm led to believe he probably won't play. In that case, I would favor the Lakers, but obviously we'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think if I'm basing on that, Morant does not play. If he does play, I probably would swing my pick toward Memphis.
I'm going regardless.
But
You're going Memphis
I'm going to
regardless.
stick with Lakers.
I respect
I'm
it,
gonna
Andrew.
stick with Lakers.
I respect going with the bold prediction there of Memphis no matter what. But that brings us to the game 2 with Miami and Milwaukee. The Bucks 8.5-point favorites in this one. Once again, see it here. Giannis listed as doubtful. So it'll be intriguing to see how the Bucks are able to come back. Obviously, you mentioned they still have weapons. Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, Brooke Lopez, Bobby Portis, whatever they need to do to get that win, they'll try to get it done there.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those revenge game factors where the Bucks are angry after that first game. I'm going regardless of with or without Giannis. I think the Bucks come out and make a statement and win by double digits in this game too. Going back to Miami, I think Middleton and Drew Holiday are going to go off in this game and really carry this Bucks team. They need that win and they know it. Going back to Miami there.
I think Giannis plays I think Giannis plays in game 2, despite whether it be limited minutes or full time. Even then, I'm picking Bucks to win. With or without Giannis, I think Bucks will get a huge win on Miami to even the series.
Well, we're all in agreement then. Giannis or no Giannis, we all think Milwaukee is going to get a win here. That moves us to the next game. The Nuggets taking on the T-Wolves in game 2. Nuggets are 8.5-point favorites in this one. Considering how game 1 went, Minnesota, I should say, they gave it their best shot, but still got beat by 29. That's just how things go sometimes. Obviously, they're probably not going to shoot as bad or play as bad as they did there. But can Minnesota Connor's already shaking his head no. I think we're all going to probably agree at the end of the day. I don't think the T-Wolves are going to get it done, but does Denver cover? Let's ask that question instead. 8.5 there.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised it's not like a 10.5 kind of spread. I don't know. Part of me wants to say Minnesota can get it done because they do have fun guys to watch, but fun doesn't always mean the talent matches is the best way to put that. I mean, I do really like watching Anthony Edwards play. And, I mean, they hung around a little bit in that first half against them before Denver took control of that game, but, yeah, I can't see. I'm going to go Denver here, and I'm going to say Denver does cover.
Denver, I think after a good third quarter effort, Denver just pretty much keeps Minnesota by like right around probably like 15, 20 points away. I think Denver is just talent wise is just matchup to matchup is just going to be too much for Minnesota to handle Denver easily.
Yeah, I think
it's a hard pick.
Yeah, I think Minnesota's going to throw everything they have at Denver, and it'll be a close game for a half again. But Denver's just too talented; they'll pull away in the second half and eventually get the cover there. Then Game 3 of the Sixers and Nets as the series moves over to Brooklyn as the Sixers still 4.5-point favorites. Kind of disappointed they're not 6.5-point favorites to fix along with the name. But there you go. Could have had it, but Vegas decided not be funny. So I'm disappointed then. But still, Philadelphia 4.5-point favorites here as they make their way over to Brooklyn.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see the Sixers losing. Obviously, maybe the Nets still won, going first back to Brooklyn. I mean, I'm going to pick the Sixers. I just don't think – I really like Bridges, but outside of that, I mean, Joe Harris isn't the same shooter he used to be. Curry's obviously a good shooter off the bench, but, I mean, listen, they have nobody to stop Embiid. I mean, O'Neal and Claxton are no match for him. I think Sixers win and cover that 4.5.
Yeah, I think Sixers probably win this game by I'll just say double digits just to make it easy on myself. I think Sixers will definitely not have a bad first half like they did in Game 2, and they'll just pretty much make quick work of the Nets, probably around mid, maybe late in the third quarter, and pretty much kind of cruise to a victory.
And that's where I'm thinking. I think Philadelphia easily wins this one by double digits, considering like we talked about earlier in the show, when you have your worst first half you could possibly have and still come out and win the game by 12, I think that kind of shows you're not going to get stopped this entire series. I think Philadelphia is able to easily hold on. It might get back up to a 20-point win in this next one, but we will have to wait and see. That brings us to one of the game threes that I'm more excited for, so to speak there. I think we would all agree, except Andrew, because I'm sure he wants to see the Sixers just continue to roll.
Yeah.
But Sacramento up 2-0, going over to San Francisco to take on the Warriors. The just fun energy both these teams have been giving off here. Sacramento's able to beat the road Warriors. The home Warriors are a little bit of a different story. Golden State 7.5-point favorites in this one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tremendous game again. They're going to have these two teams go back and forth throughout, just like we saw in the first two games. Again, I think it's going to come down to, can anyone on the Warriors step up defensively? Obviously, they're going to be able to put up points, but is anyone going to be able to step up defensively there? I don't know. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I don't know if you guys saw anything. A possible suspension. The fact that Green and Sabonis are both doubtful. I mean, I don't think Green had any injury after that game. So to see them both doubtful there, I mean, that's kind of tells me maybe they're expecting a suspension there, which honestly, that's a lot bigger loss for the Kings than that is the Warriors, especially at this point in Green's stage of his career. I mean, if that's the case, I definitely like the Warriors' chances. Maybe that's why the spread's 7.5, because I was shocked to see it at 7.5 too. But I'm gonna go Warriors regardless. I think them going home is gonna be a big help for them. Curry and Thompson are gonna be the splash brothers we're used to seeing in Golden State there, and they get the job done and get their first win in the series.
Yeah, for this one, I think as far as I can tell, there's still nothing on suspending Draymond Green. Anything I've looked up, unless it's been updated since I last checked. So, and then he claimed he supposedly hurt his ankle after Sabonis grabbed him. Though I'm like, he was walking just fine afterwards. So I think he'll be playing Game 3 unless he gets suspended. But as far as I know, the league hasn't taken any action against that. And Sabonis, obviously, with what happened to him, I still think he'll probably play. But even then, I think Golden State will be able to take Game 3. I mean, just home Warriors are just a different team altogether. So I think Warriors will be able to get a game, make it 2-1, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, Andrew, to your point, you mentioned, can anybody on the Warriors slow the Kings down? No, none of them can. Can they outshoot the Kings and beat them in a shootout, however, especially at home? Absolutely. They got one of the best shooters of all time in Steph Curry. Klay Thompson can step up. Andrew Wiggins will get his 17 points, as he always does. Don't know, of course, like we talked about the situation with Sabonis and Draymond Green there. If they're both out, obviously that helps Golden State and hurts Sacramento, but it'll be a fun matchup. That's about all I can say there, but at the end of the day, I do like the Warriors to come back, get to play in their stadium where they love playing. I mean, you don't get 33-8 and not be just having a lot of fun in San Francisco. Golden State, I think, gets the win there and makes it back to a 2-1 series. That brings us to the final game we're going to talk about today, Game 3 of Phoenix going out to the Clippers. Now, obviously, Game 2 is tonight as of we're recording this, but still, always nice to look forward to the future.
Yeah, I think Clippers go back home, get a win. Back in LA, I think that place will be going crazy. I think, I think their depth they showed in Game 1 is where they can really affect Phoenix, especially with Phoenix going on the road there and going on. I mean, it's weird that they gave him an extra day off, and then or turn around going one day after that on a travel day. So I don't know, it's weird schedule on NBA's part.
Yeah.
But on that sense, I guess you have to because you can't have the Clippers and Lakers playing on the same day. So that's probably why it's weird they're out in the West. But no, I think Clippers go back and get the job done. And we'll see where the series will be at that point. But
Yeah, like I think we all agree that it would be tied up 1-1.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'm in agreement with Andrew. I think going back to Los Angeles, think that gives Clippers a much another advantage. Obviously, having the crowd behind them, and I think they overall play better. They play pretty well at home, so I think that'll be good for them. I think they get the victory for Game 3 and go up 2-1 if depending on how tonight goes.
And I'm in agreement. I think the Clippers, if it is a 1-1 series like we all think it's going to be, I think the Clippers come back, get a big win there in Game 3, and go up 2-1 and have an opportunity to get the warning shot ready there, I guess you could say, for Game 4. But, folks, that will do it for our show today. Our camera froze, so we're just going to keep the multi-screen set up here because our camera loves freezing. I will never understand why it always likes freezing. Yeah, you got to love technology, folks. But, as always, folks, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like the video, of course, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, you know the drill. And if you're watching here on Twitch, I do want to thank our audience we've had on Twitch. We've had a lot of people stop on by tonight. So as always, there you could give us a follow at twitch.tv/NWTV7. That's once again NWTV7. But for Andrew Santangelo and Connor Gray, I'm Cade Kennedy, and folks, have a great night, everybody.